Are you ready to get offended? Trigger warning. Tell them this is the last week I'm sticking up money. So give me more grace one more week, you know. I know there's a few people here for the first time. Hey, listen, open your mind, open your heart, and let's get offended together. Can I get an amen? Echo Church, can I offend you one more week? Can I convict you one more sermon? Can I trigger you one more hour? We've been talking all things money, wealth, and prosperity. Money, wealth, and prosperity. And it's kind of crazy because I'm one of those guys that whenever people tell me not to speak about something, I speak about it. Not sure why. Maybe I need to get my mental health issue checked. Not really sure. But this is the issue though. God did address money, wealth, and prosperity. In fact, it's one of the most addressed topics in the scripture, simply because God has a plan and a purpose for your finances. One of the biggest issues we face in our contemporary culture is that their constant pursuit and goal and mission to twist the fabric of reality. We are living in a demonic time, and the reason I say that is simply because the devil is using politicians and people and media people and Hollywood to be on an aggressive mission to twist, manipulate, and shift reality. And this is really a massive problem when you try to shift reality, because when you try to shift reality, you end up with depression. You end up with an anxiety. Because reality is reality, you just can't change it. You know, you wonder why there's now like some naked men dancing on the street in Mardi Gras and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm a woman, I'm so beautiful. I'm like, bruh, you're not beautiful, you're a man, put your shirt on. Because we're living in an era where people are twisting reality. But that's the issue. No matter how much you try to twist reality, you can't change reality.
That's right. That's right.
So we are living in a cultural moment when the enemy and people are delusional to the point that they're trying to shift, maneuver, manipulate reality. But you can't shift reality. And this is a problem. Reality is not what you think it is. Reality is not what you perceive it. Reality is not what you feel it. And reality is not what you decide. Reality is simply reality. And this sickness that is infecting our culture, back in the day, you know, when someone was delusional, you send them to the mental health hospital. They'll get checked and everybody agrees they need help. But now, we have a cultural phenomena where we're celebrating people being crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's like everybody's denying reality. And a lot of people know it's not real, but we're going with the flow. But this is the issue though. This particular sickness and disease of delusion and mental delusion and the shifting and the manipulation of reality, it's actually also in the church. It's actually also in the church, and simply because when we talk about money, a lot of people are denying the reality of the curse that we live under. In Genesis 3, you get a moment in the Bible where you get to understand the reality of the world that you live in. The world that you live in is actually under a curse. If you truly believe in reality, if you truly believe in the scripture, according to the Bible, the first 3 pages of the Bible, our world is founded on a curse, and our world is living under a curse. And this is the problem that people that get offended when pastors talk about money in the church. And this is the problem that people fail to tithe into the house of God. This is the problem that people fail to honor God by giving the first, 10th, and the best to the house of God, is that they're trying to shift, manipulate, and maneuver reality. They're trying to maneuver the reality, and they're saying that I don't need God, I don't need His blessing, I don't need His favor, I don't need His help, I don't need His miracle working hand. And again, just because you're denying reality, it doesn't mean it's not real, but it's the issue. People actually need God. There's gonna somewhere, somehow your business is gonna be running out of money. Somewhere, somehow your industry is gonna be running out of money. Somewhere, somehow you're gonna lose your job. Somewhere, somehow the government's gonna increase the tax. Somewhere, somehow the bank is gonna increase the interest rate. Somewhere, somehow your career is gonna end. This is the reality of life. You can't change it. You can't maneuver. You can't manipulate it. I want to particularly talk to men because men are the provider of the house. Sorry, the feminists. Men are the provider of the house. That's why women used to be beautiful and happy. Now they're not beautiful and not happy. I'm like, maybe you need to go back a bit further. Maybe you need help. I'm particularly talking to men because it's an extremely dangerous place to be outside the will of God, and it's an extremely dangerous place to be outside the purpose of God. Men, since your job is to provide and protect, obviously, I feel sorry for the women that try to protect themselves. Like, really, seriously? Like, it used to be like a heroic thing when a male defends a woman. Now it's like sexist. Like, what the heck? I'm not sure. Like, it's crazy, right? Crazy. But quickly, I'm talking particularly to men, to fathers, because it's your job to provide. It's your job to bring. It's your job to work. So you are the person who's under this danger. And my warning to you is that it is a really dangerous place for you to be outside the will of God when it comes to your money. It's really dangerous because when the inflation rocks up, when the interest rate rises, when your job is going through budget cuts, I have no idea how you're going to provide for yourself. Or your family or your kids. I actually have no idea. I have no idea because the thing is, again, you are trying to twist the fabric of reality to be the provider when you're not the provider. God is every provider needs a provider. Do you understand? Every provider needs a provider because your provision will run out. That's why the Bible calls God the shepherd. He provides. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, your provision is going to run out. Your business is one day going to run out. Your career is one day going to end. Your industry one day be replaced by artificial intelligence. Who knows what the future holds? But one thing you do know, that God will always, always, always provide. So every provider needs a provider. And what are you going to do when your provision runs out? In Genesis 3, we see this moment of reality where sin enters the human race, where sin enters the human existence. And you see it said that God said to Adam, since you have listened to your wife, the ground is cursed. The ground is cursed. This is the reality we're living on. You can work as much as you want, but no matter how much you work, the ground that you're working is cursed. Because our world is founded on sin, and our world is living under the curse of sin. Again, you can't change reality. You can't twist reality. You got to accept reality. If you keep on trying to shift reality, if you keep on trying to twist reality, you're going to be depressed the rest of your life. Like the feminists. A lot of people are trying to twist reality. They're trying to change it and manipulate it instead of accepting reality and living with reality. And wisdom is being able to accept reality. I love this idea of wisdom because the Bible is all about wisdom. In case you didn't know, the Western civilization, the world that you live in, we have a lot of people here. You got Asian, you got Arab, you got Middle Eastern, you got Muslim, you got Christian, you got Buddhist, you got atheist, you got agnostic, you got gender bender, you got blue-headed people, you got frogman, you got all this stuff there. We live in an era. The Western civilization is founded on two things. That's the reason you live in this freedom and you're able to come to church. If you want to come on the screen. Number one, on divine revelation, which is the Bible, which is how you get right and wrong, left and right, what is and what isn't. But secondly, it's founded on this concept called logos, logic. These are the two elements of every single civilization. That's why I came from Egypt. It was a Muslim nation. It had a different perception of reality. Every single country had a different perception of reality. The Western civilization was built on divine revelation, which is the Bible, and logos, which is the logic. So Christians make a lot of sense. If you read the Bible in John chapter 1, it said, in the beginning was the Word. That word in the Greek, it's one of my favorite words, the word word. It means logic, logos. That word logos means the system, the principle, and the foundation of reality. Jesus is the logic, the principle, the system, and the foundation of reality. Jesus is reality. He is reality. And the book of Proverbs, you get a glimpse of reality. So Jesus is literally the book of Proverbs becoming man. Jesus is wisdom, reality, principles, the system of the operation personified. So that's what tends to happen over time, is that people try to change and shift and manipulate reality. And there's a problem. There's a big, massive problem. Because you become delusional. Wow. At some point of time when most people were Christian, we used to be able to identify delusional people. Tell them, hey, that's not normal. Stop. Yeah. Now we celebrate delusion. Yeah. So wow. We celebrate delusion. Because are you saying to me, you can do whatever the heck that you want with your money, and expect God to bless you? Seriously? Like, how crazy and delusional can you be? Calvary covered it all, and grace covered it all, and Jesus forgave it all, and the cross covers anything, and the cross covers everything, and whatever. I do whatever the heck I want with my money. Why would God want my money? Why would God use my money? Who does God think He is? Are you telling me you can do whatever the heck that you want with your finances and expect God to be with you? Well, that's not true. That's simply not true. That's why a lot of Christians have really bad marriages. Because they didn't apply wisdom, the principles, and the system of reality. That's why a lot of Christians struggle with drunkenness or maybe sexual urges, so many things, because just because you're Christian, it does not mean you live under the blessing of heaven. And the exact same way, the exact same principle, you cannot do whatever the heck that you want with your money, with your finances, with your wealth, with your prosperity, with your work, with your business, with your career, and expect the provision of God to be with you. This is the problem. This is a big, massive problem, because God is just. God is just. So it's not I can do whatever the heck, and Calvary will cover it all, and Jesus covered it all, and grace covered it all. And there's a problem of facing that a lot of people are trying to twist the fabric of reality and blame it on grace. In the book of Proverbs, it's a book of wisdom. We jump or we see the foundation of reality. The book of Proverbs is a really good, important book, because it's a wisdom literature book. It's a young guy who became old, Solomon, who was really, I'm not sure when or how old was he when he wrote it, but Solomon was a really powerful man and a really rich man. The richest and most powerful man, the richest and wisest man that ever existed in the history of humanity, apart from Jesus, according to the Bible. And Solomon had it all. He slept with at least 900 women, so he was crazy, he was wild. He had a lot of money, he had worked really, really hard, he had palaces, he worked hard, he had pleasure, he built kingdoms, he built empires, he went to war, he did everything. And then Solomon ends up concluding and writing this book of wisdom, except he didn't apply it. A lot of people have a lot of wisdom, but they don't apply it. And that's the point of the book, is that wisdom is to be applied. So it's not really a philosophical book, all my philosophical people, you love philosophy. The wisdom literature, the book of Solomon, it's actually wisdom. It's applied wisdom. How to live life well. And it gives you consequences. That there are consequences when you try to twist reality and when you try to change reality. Again, our world is founded on a sin, and our world is living under a sin. And the book of Solomon and the book of Proverbs has a goal of giving young, dumb people like myself and you wisdom of how to live well. It's really cool because look what he said in the beginning, just before we jump in the main text in Proverbs 30. Look, it said, wisdom shouts in the streets. She cries out in the public square. She calls to the cowards along the main street. How long you simple people will insist on being simple-minded. Wow. It's all these people that read the Bible and have dumb, simple conclusions. Jesus died for me, so I'm blessed. Jesus died for me, I can do whatever I want. Jesus died for me, so I don't need to die. Jesus died for me, He will always provide for me. Jesus died for me, I can sin. Jesus died for me, I can make bad choices. That's a simple-minded. That's stupid. And that's including myself. And that is a person that the book is actually addressing. Look what it said. It said, how long will you fools hate knowledge? You ignored my advice. You rejected the correction I offered you. So, catch the next one, because this is the problem. You cannot do whatever the heck that you want with your money and expect God to bless you. This is a warning from heaven. I'm telling you, we're going to dig a bit deeper into Proverbs. But before we start, I want to tell you, you cannot change the fabric of reality. And man, it's a really dangerous place to be outside the purpose of God, outside of the will of God, when you decide and declare that you do not need God. That you are your provider. With your might, with your wealth, with your hand, with your work. And one day, something will crack. And your wisdom and your strategy and your IQ and your net worth will go down. It will happen. It will happen. It said wisdom will laugh at you in trouble. That's mean. Ha 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 ha. It said wisdom will mock you when disaster overtakes you. When you cry for help, wisdom will not answer. For you hated knowledge and chose to not fear the Lord. Catch this. The Bible said that by wisdom, the Lord founded the universe. Before you were born, before you came to existence, God created science, God created reality, God created systems, God created procedures, God created everything to function in a certain particular way. Before you were born, wisdom existed. Before you were designed, wisdom existed. And before the foundation of earth, God knew that sin was going to happen. God knew that sin was going to happen. God knew that there was going to be a curse. God knew there was going to be suffering. And as a consequence, God founded, created, crafted, manufactured the world by wisdom. Wisdom is the bedrock of the universe. It's the bedrock. It carries the universe. All the people that don't believe the truth, that's the point. The Bible said it in Proverbs. Look, it said Proverbs 3. Where is it? Proverbs 3, 19 to 20. By wisdom, the Lord founded, crafted, and created the universe. By wisdom, the Lord manufactured the world. We jump in Proverbs 3, and we see an interesting moment in the Bible where you get to understand God's wisdom when it comes to money, wealth, and prosperity. Really, really important text. I think it's really, really important. It's awesome. So many people are like, tithing in the Old Testament principle. I'm like, well, wisdom is eternal. Yeah. Wisdom is eternal. It doesn't change. And there will always be the people that have bad financial habits. It will always be the people that divorce like 4 people. It will be the people that are not married. It will be the person that keeps on dating the wrong girl all the time because he's just bad at discernment. Because they don't believe in wisdom. They don't believe in wisdom. So as a consequence, they make dumb statements. Tithing is an eternal, universal principle beyond time, space, and culture. Amen. And that's what Proverbs 3 is saying. Look what Proverbs 3 said. It said, honor the Lord with your wealth. That word honor is really interesting because that word honor means to place value, to hold in high esteem, to bow down, to stand in awe, and to tremble with fear. This is one of the toxic things of our contemporary culture, is that we love love. That's why we love free will offering. Because I'm free. Our culture values love and freedom. The Bible, though, values honor and duty. That's why you have dads who have 5 seconds making a baby and they enjoyed it so much, next minute they're leaving the mom and they're running away. You're like, man, no. There's something called honor and duty. But guess what? We don't have that anymore. We don't have that anymore. That's why I have women who enjoy having a baby and next minute they'll abort it and kill it. There's something called honor and duty. And our culture doesn't value that thing. They don't value honor and duty. These are actually values and principles. Every single civilization believed in them except us. And somehow we think we're most superior. Like, oh my God, seriously? Honor and duty, man. Love and freedom are not the values of any culture. It's honor and duty. It's that when you do something, there are consequences and you will stick to it. And you will hold to the ramifications of what you created. This is exactly how you end up with the world around you. Abandon honor. And as a consequence, you abandon duty. Duty is not really a sexy term. It's like your job. You got to do it. That's right. Honor. To place value. To hold in high esteem. To stand in awe. And to tremble in fear and trembling. But Western Christianity, they love to love Jesus, but they don't like to honor Jesus. All my Western liberal friends, can I get an amen? Western Christianity, it loves Jesus, but it doesn't honor Jesus. Western Christianity loves to be loved by Jesus, but it doesn't like to fear Jesus. Western Christianity loves the grace of God, but it hates to fear God. Western Christianity loves Jesus as your friend, as your boyfriend, but it rejects Jesus as Lord. And as a consequence, it fails to honor. Friend, God is not your friend. God is your Lord. This is really important. God is not your friend. You are His friend. There is one time in the Bible that Jesus said that we're his friend, and it's not that we tell him that you're my friend, bro. No. God is too cool. Yeah. And he invites you and tells you, well, you know what? You're my friend. Yeah. I call you friend. Yeah. But you don't call him friend. Come on. And that's why when you encounter these moments of wisdom where God is like, honor, place, value, stand in awe, get over yourself, get over your high horse, bow down to Jesus. He's your king. Can you believe some people get offended when we tell them Jesus is your king? He's your king, man. That's why Matthew said seek first the kingdom, not seek first friendship with God, because God is my friend. No. Christianity is a kingdom. Catch this. The kingdom is where the king reigns. The kingdom is about the reign of the king. The kingdom is about the word and the will of the king. And if Jesus is not your king, then you're not part of his kingdom. And that's how you end up with the media attacking churches for asking people to honor God. It's like Christians have been doing that for 2,000 years. Oh my God. It's like when people attack me online for saying homosexuality is sin, I'm like, Christians have believed that for 2,000 years. Yeah. You are the new kid on the block, not me. Have you read any Christian history? The Jews believed that for 2,000 years. This idea has been around for 4,000 years. And somehow you think you are so progressive and you're so smart. But you're not. You're the new kid on the block. It's because we have abandoned honor and duty under the name of love and liberty. So we end up creating a Jesus that we love, but we don't honor. We end up creating a God that loves us, but we don't fear him. We end up creating a God that's our friend, but not our king. So as a byproduct, we're always like in a relationship with Jesus. Have you ever met those people? I'm just having my quiet time. That's me. But I wonder, being with God is not just a quiet time. He's king. Honor the Lord with your wealth. And this is a massive issue because our culture and our world has declared that God is not worthy of our honor. This is the reality we live in. We live in a culture that celebrates dishonoring God. This is their value. This is their principle. This is what they call love. And this is what they call justice. Dishonoring God. That's why marriage is now, we vote on marriage. Oh, is marriage a man and a man, a woman and a woman? I'm like, man, God made it. But that's the thing, our culture has decided that God is not worthy of our honor, and that's why they go and change, maneuver, and as a byproduct, destroy marriage. Not just marriage, but also your sexuality. That's why you have a lot of men going around sleeping with that girl, sleeping with that girl, sleeping with another girl. I'm like, man, God created sexuality and sex is the gift of marriage. But guess what? Our culture has declared that God is not worthy of our honor when it comes to our sexuality. What about the gift of sex? Our culture has declared that God is not worthy of our honor. And that's why men sleep with men and women sleep with women. Because guess what? There is no honor. There is no honor. And this extends to every single aspect. When it comes to family, they're like, oh, you can be a single mom and dad. You can leave it. It's not your responsibility. What about family? Oh, woman, you had a baby. No drama. You can kill it. You can abort it. It's healthcare. Wow. What about parenting? They tell kids, you can call the cops on your parent. The Bible said, honor your parents. But that's the thing. Our culture does not hold anything as honorable. Not marriage, not family, not sex, not family, not gender, nothing. Absolutely nothing. And that's what the last days are going to be about. It's about dishonoring the sacredness of God. But this is what wisdom is, and this is what wisdom is about. It's about honoring God. And guess what? It's all right for the world to be the world, honestly. There's no drama. But the bigger issue is that when this culture of dishonor creeps into the house of God. It's when people start to attack the church for expecting people to honor God. It's when people start to say the church shouldn't speak about offering. It's when people start to say the church shouldn't speak about tithing. It's people start to expect the church not to push people to honor God with their money. And it's all right for the world to be the world. But for the church to be the world, this is really tragic. And this is what Solomon's saying. You got to honor God with your money. Yeah. He's telling you, you got to honor God by presenting to God the first and the tenth and the best of all that your resources. This is what wisdom is. By wisdom, a house is built. The Bible said, by wisdom, the whole universe was founded. And then Solomon goes deeper and said that the fear of the Lord is the foundation of wisdom. It's going to come on the screen. By wisdom, the Lord founded the world. By wisdom, the Lord created the universe. And the Bible said after is that the fear of the Lord is the foundation of wisdom. What does fearing God mean? It says to fear the God is to obey His commands. To know what He said and actually do it. To know what He said. And then the whole idea of wisdom is about honor the Lord was your first. This whole concept of honor, it's about in the beginning God. The first 3 words in the Bible, in the beginning God. This is what honor is. In the beginning God. Seek first. Honor always comes first. It never comes second. Honor is about the first, not the second. Honor is about the beginning, not the end. Honor is about the first, best, and tenth, not about the leftovers. And this is a value that's lost with our culture, and this is a value that's creeping into the house of God. This idea of dishonor, where we fail to honor, place value. So how do you honor God? That's what the Bible said. Honor the Lord with your wealth, with your possessions. It said that with the first fruit, the first and the best, honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruit of your increase. So how often should you tithe? Every single pay, every single day, every single job, every single client, every single work. That's actually the biblical principle. It's that whatever God brings to you, you honor. Every single day. Because you don't just worship God on Sunday. You worship God on Monday. Amen. Honoring God is not just a hyper moment, every single second, every single day, every single pay, every single client, every single income, every single wealth. With the increase. Every time God chooses to give more, you honor. You place value. Because Jesus is King. He's Lord. So why should you give to honor? There's no philosophical argument. This is what it means to honor God. To present to Him the first and the tenth and the best. How can you respond to a God who's so holy? How can you respond to a God who's so perfect? How can you respond to a God who's so pure? How can you respond to a God who is light? How can you respond to a God who's first and always first? You bow down and you honor with the first and tenth and best. Because if Jesus is not your king, you will not make it to His kingdom. You know what you do to kings? You honor them. That's why I don't vote green, because they don't honor the queen. You know what you do to kings? You honor. This is the value of honor that we have lost, that we have abandoned. And honor brings duty. When your value is fake love, you end up with liberty, which means abandoning responsibility. So you come to God and bring Him the first and tenth and the best. It's really important. It's not that God wouldn't take your leftovers. God can never, ever, ever take your second. God is always first. He's just that guy. You know that guy that always wins? That's Him. That's God. He's always first. God is never, ever, ever second because He's God. If He's not first, He's not God. So this is the issue when people fail to put God first. It's not that He's second. He's actually not there. See the issues, people? Again, people try to twist the fabric of reality and to try to twist the nature of God. For example, God doesn't lie. God doesn't do evil. God does not manipulate. God doesn't forget. God is holy. God is perfect. God is pure. God is eternal, meaning He's of sad time, space, and culture. God is omnipresent, meaning He's everywhere at the same time. God is omniscience. He knows everything. God is omnipotent, means He's all powerful. But the exact same way, God is first. Being first is who He is. Being first is what he does. Being first is identity, and being first is his nature. God is first. He can never ever be second. And even when you put him second in the world, he's still first in the world. His identity and his function, his nature is not determined by your performance, not determined by your honor, it's determined by him. And that's a problem when people put God second. He's not there. God only rocks up when he's the most praised, most honored, most valuable. God only rocks up when he is the most praised, the most honored, and the most valuable. And that's why honor always comes first. And if it's not first, don't do it. If it's not honorable, don't do it. This is really important because some of you think God is halfway there, or God is maybe there, or God is somewhere there. And you have been deceiving yourself. You're like, man, how come God is not providing? How come God is not leading? How come God is not blessing? How come heaven is not open? Because it said after, we're going to get the diagram, it said, honor the Lord with your wealth. It was the first fruit, first and the best. Of all your increase. That talks about the frequency. But it said then, and only then, he will make you full to overflow. This is the promise of the scripture. This is really important. This is the wisdom of God. Again, you can choose. You got your life and death. You choose wisely. You got to choose what you want. And wisdom is crying on the street because a lot of people here, you're going to be left alone when the interest rate goes up. A lot of people here, you're going to be left alone if communism happens in Australia. Who knows what the future holds, honestly? Honestly, who knows what our crazy politicians might do? It happened in Russia before. It happened in China before. It happened in Cuba before. It can happen anywhere. Don't be cocky. It can happen anywhere. It's not a conspiracy. A lot of countries have fell under the evil of communism. It's not a conspiracy. That's why a lot of you are here. It's a dangerous place to be outside of the will of God when it comes to finances. Because he cannot rock up. And he can't, it's not that he wouldn't rock up. He actually cannot rock up. The reason he cannot rock up is because you're trying to twist his nature to make him something that he isn't. So God doesn't lie. You can't make him lie. God doesn't do evil. You can't make him do evil. God does not manipulate. You can't make him manipulate. And the exact same way, God cannot rock up unless he's honored. So when you don't honor him, he's not there. And this is what wisdom is about. And when he's not first, he's not there. I always read the story in Genesis of Cain and Abel. I always wondered, why did God reject Cain and accept Abel? It's a really interesting text because you see since the beginning of time, beyond time, space, and culture, God was after the first and tenth best. Look what Abel said. Look at what Genesis said. Genesis 4 verse 3, it said, when it was time for harvest, Cain presented some. And God's like, man, keep your some, man. Abel also brought a gift. It said the best portion of the first. Some first. Some best. Some tenth. It said that the Lord accepted Abel, but he rejected Cain's offering. This made Cain very angry. The most people that get angry at me are the people that don't want to honor God. I'm like, it's not my fault, man. It's called envy. It's when people persecute the people of God for honoring God. Like, have you ever seen those people? Tax the church, tax the church. I'm like, how dumb are you? People gave the money freely. You want to tax people's offering? How delusional can you be? People get angry at the church for people choosing to give to the church freely. So why are you angry? It's not your money. You didn't work for it. It's not your money. Someone wants to give it, they can give it. But that's exactly what happened when people honor God. The people that don't honor God, they get angry. And it's talking about Christians. It's talking about the people of God who fail to honor God. And when people decide to honor God, they look at them with envy because God is with them. God is for them. God is prospering them. God is looking upon them with favor, and God has lifted them up. And God is actually accepting the offering. So Cain looks, and instead of Cain being angry at himself, he's angry at Abel. And Abel simply offered to God what he wanted. What do we think that when you honor God, the people that don't honor God get angry? You'd be surprised how many Christians get annoyed by sermons like that. It's mind-blowing. The most people that get annoyed by me with this type of sermons are actually Christians. They get annoyed because I'm telling people, honor God with your money. Oh my God, crazy. But they have been brainwashed and indoctrinated by our contemporary culture to think the value of life is love. Therefore, it's all about free will offering. That's the problem. God did not find the universe by love. God did not found the universe by free will offering. He didn't found the universe by spiritual promptings. He didn't find the universe by weird voices. God founded the universe by wisdom. And this is the wisdom of God. That fearing God, meaning honoring God, is the beginning, the foundation of all knowledge. That's why the first three words in the Bible, in the beginning, God. In the beginning, this is what wisdom is. In the beginning, God. That's why God is not after your tithing, God is after the faith in your tithing. This is really massive. Last week I kind of told people 2 weeks ago that God is not just after some of what you have. God is after 10th of what you have. And all the Arabs, they love negotiation. We never buy anything on price. We have to negotiate the price. And that's why God was telling his people, they were from the Middle East, so they probably acted like me. Bring the 10th. And they were negotiating. 10, what about 9, what about 8, what about 6, what about 5, what about 2.5? Discount. But this is massive because it gets worse because God wasn't just asking for the 10th. God was asking for the best. What does that mean? The best quality product of what they had because they tithed in food and in animals. Which meant that what they gave to the house of God would have created the most profit and would have costed them the most work. So the best was an indication of quality. So they didn't like the standard, which was the 10th. They didn't like the quality, which is the best of your produce. But then they didn't like the first. Because tithing is not about the money. It's about the faith within the money. God is not after your tithing. God is after your faith in the tithing. God is not after your tithing. God is after the stability that you find in your money. God is not after your tithing. God is after the confidence that you have in your money. And tithing shows God's supremacy over your finances. Tithing shows the practicality of God's supremacy over your money. That's what tithing is for. That's why it's about honor. Tithing shows how supreme God is when it comes to your money. Is he actually supreme? Is he actually Lord? Is he actually King? And that's why Jesus said, seek first. Faith always comes first. It never comes second. If it comes second, it's not faith. Because people had to give in hope that God was going to give again. This is really massive because they hoped that the rain would come back. They hoped that they would have another baby from the offspring of the cow or whatever. They hoped that the food will come. They hoped that the tax would decrease. They had to give in hope. And that's why God said, test me now on this. This is really massive because Jesus said you can never ever test the Lord your God. So this is actually heretical, technically. You can never ever test God. God is God. God is perfect. God is pure. But when it comes to money, you can actually test God. You can actually put God to the test. You can actually dare. God is daring you to do it. God is daring you to put him first. God is daring you to put everything on the line. God is daring you. I know you need to pay your rent, but put God first. I know you need to pay your mortgage, but put God first. I know you need to feed the kids, but put God. God is like, but test me now. God is telling you to test him, but he's testing you to test him. God is so funny. Whenever God says something, it's most likely about you. When he says test me, he's really testing you. He's like, double word. Test me. And he's like, yeah, I'm testing you if you're going to test me. So he's really testing you by telling you to test him. First, 10th, and best. He said, test me. Put me to the test, because God knew life was going to be hard. God knew life was going to be a struggle. God knew that you're going to be living under a curse. God knew that every single person was going to be after your money. God knew that the interest was going to rise up. God knew that buying a house was going to be expensive. God knew that your kids were going to eat all your money. God knew that it was going to be, he knew that. And that is the reason he purposely said, put me to the test. Test me. I want to give some of the skeptical of you at the end a moment. Test God for 1 year, be tithing, and see what's going to happen. Yeah. Just do it. Yeah. Just test him. Because that's what he said. Yeah. I'm going to share a few stories at the end of a few people last year that they was like, you know what? I'm skeptical about that stuff. I don't believe in that stuff. I've never done it because you're anxious, you're a control freak, you've never really let it go. But God is saying, test me now. Yeah. Now. A few weeks ago, we had someone, because of the series, a young couple start tithing. It was so crazy because they decided to give 10% of their income, they were not breaking even. They tithed the first time on a Sunday. The day after, they got a promotion of 10% on top of their income. And they came and told you, I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. How did this happen? But God said, do it and test me. God said, test me now in this. David said, I was young, but now I'm old. Yet I have never seen the godly forsaken or the children begging for bread. God is daring you to test him. You can't test God when it comes to anything, but when it comes to money and tithing, you can. We had another person in our church. She decided to tithe a few weeks ago. It was really cool because her husband's not a Christian, but somehow she convinced him to tithe, which is crazy, right? Wow. She told him, just give me a few months and see what's going to happen. Just a few days later, he got a promotion. Last year, we had 2 people in our church that were going to get fired because of the vaccine mandates. They didn't want to get vaccinated. And during tithing, I was like, God, like, you telling me to get them to give when they like might get fired? Seriously? The day after the series, the day after, both of them got a promotion. They went from being fired by the HR, there was 2 of them, to being promoted. God said, test me. Put me to the test. So you end up with 2 types of people, and I'm going to go quickly through this. 2 types of budgets, 2 types of people. It's really important because I want to make it as practical as it gets, because the text was really practical. Honor the Lord with your wealth. I love to land the series practically because Proverbs is a practical book. Practical wisdom for living. You can't argue with it. There's no theology behind it. You read the text and you apply it. Really practical. You should really study it. You should. There's 31 Proverbs. 31 chapters, so you should read 1 chapter a day. Someone said before, a proverb a day will take the fool away. So you should probably read Proverbs every day of your life. You got 2 types of people. The first person that they get their pay, they tax, obviously. You got to tax. You pay your mortgage or your rent. You pay your food, your petrol. It keeps on going up because of a climate change activist. I'm like, bro, stop it. Can you stop making the petrol more expensive? And then the electricity. Anybody who's not loving the electricity prices recently? Crazy, man. We pay so much electricity in church, so when it goes up, we feel it. We feel it so much. I'm like, man, can you guys just calm down with your climate change stuff, because I still want to pay more on electricity. They get their savings, they get their spending, and they get the date night with the boyfriend and the girlfriend, with their husband and the wife. But then they check at the end, and if there are any leftovers, you're like, all right, if there's leftovers, we'll put God there. If the interest is not up, if my kid doesn't need a haircut, if the school fees are paid, at the end, I'm going to do my budget and I'm going to put God at the end and see what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? But then you got that budget B, and what they do in the beginning, they literally honor God by presenting the first 10th and best. This is the plan B. This is first thing they do, like, I got paid. I'm going to apply wisdom. Honor the Lord with your wealth, with the first fruit of everything that you produce. Every time God sends anything, I'm going to honor God. Every time a patient comes, I'm going to honor God. Every time a client comes, I'm going to honor God. Every time I get a pay rise, I'm going to honor God. Every time a customer walks in, I'm going to honor God. Every day I work, I'm going to honor God. Every time someone gives me a gift, I'm going to honor God. Every time anything happens financially, someone gives me something, I'm going to honor God. So the money comes to the account and straight away, first. They understand the principle first. Seek first. First, because God can never come second. He has no interest in you second. And then they go for tax, mortgage, food, petrol, electricity, stop climate change, savings, spending, and date night. And this is really important because the first budget, I call it the unbelieving believer budget. The second budget, I call it the believing believer. What is unbelieving believer? The unbelieving believer is the person that believes in God, but they act like he doesn't exist. Have you ever seen the unbelieving believer? It's a person that believes that God exists, but they act like he doesn't. And they're so funny because they're in church. They clap, they sing, they act Christian, they do all the role, they fall on the floor, they shake, they kiss hands, they get coffee, they do everything. They act like God exists. So they believe, the unbelieving believer believes that God exists, but they act like he doesn't. So they're really a Christian atheist. And that's why, guess what the first thing that goes out of their money? It's tax. They literally worship government. But there is the believing believer. That's the second person. The believing believer, the person that believes God is real, and they act like he does. So the first thing that comes out of budget, it's not their tax, it's not their mortgage, because whatever goes first is your God. That's a problem. That's why the first words in the Bible, in the beginning God. In the beginning God. Whatever comes at the beginning, whatever comes first is God. That's the idea of reality. That's why, what is the beginning? Whatever comes first, whatever comes in the beginning of your life is your God. And you can't bull crap around it. There's no way around it. You don't have to do it, but if you're going to do it, you got to decide, what is my God? What is my provider? So the believing believer, they believe that God exists, and they act like he does. The unbelieving believer, they believe that God exists, but their budget doesn't show that. And as a consequence, they don't honor the Lord with the first and the tenth and the best. And Echo Church, as we end this whole series, it's your duty to honor God. Solomon landed his whole wisdom by saying, this is the conclusion of my whole entire life. Fear the Lord and obey his commands. This is the duty of every single human being. And that's why God said, put me to the test. This is really important because tithing is really stupid when you look at it through the lens of your physical senses. But tithing is really wise when you look through the lens of faith. Because that's what the text said. It said, you can make your life full, but only God can make your life full to overflow. Do you understand? You can make your life full. That's why you keep. That's why you save. That's why you hoard. That's why you make that profit. That's why I take from that guy. That's why you don't give it back. Because you can make your life full. But only God can make your life full to overflow. Jesus said it this way, give and you'll receive, pressed down, shaken together and running over. You can make your life full. That's why you're keeping and saving and not giving away. That's why the first thing that comes in your life, it's you, it's your bank, it's your kids, it's your life, it's your government. But you can never make your life overflow. And when the honor goes up, the blessing comes down. When the worship goes up, the provision comes down. When the tithing goes up, the blessing comes down. So catch this. Tithing is really stupid if you look through the lens of your physical senses. But tithing is really wise if you look through the lens of faith. Tithing is really foolish if you look through the lens of men. But tithing is wisdom if you look through the lens of the scripture. Tithing is so stupid if you look through the lens of culture. But tithing is God's wisdom if you look through the lens of the Bible. And you got to pick one. And guess what? If I didn't tithe, I would have owned the house by now. If I didn't tithe, I would have had an investment property by now. If I didn't tithe, I would have been traveling to Europe every second year by now. If I didn't tithe, I would have so much more saving than now. And that's the thing. That's the point. That is the point. Tithing is stupid from your physical senses, but it is faith through the lens of God's wisdom. And that's why Malachi said, bring the tithe into the storehouse and test me. And test me. And test me quickly. So tithing is foolish when you look through the lens of your physical senses, but tithing is wisdom when you look through the lens of faith, because you could pay your house, you could have sent your kid to private school, you could have bought another car, you could have went to Europe, you could have done so much more. That's the reality. That's the practicality. There's no delusion here. This is the facts. Tithing is so much in comparison to your budget, but it is so little in comparison to the love of God. So tithing is so much, but it's so little. Tithing is so much when you look at your struggle financially. But tithing is so little when you look at the infinite grace of God on the cross. Tithing is so much when you look at how the prices of everything is going up. But tithing is so little in comparison to the gift of Jesus on the cross. Tithing is so much when you look at how many things you need and how much interest rate is going up. But tithing is so little in comparison what God did for you and what God wants to do to the world. And this is the tension of tithing. It's so much, but it's so little. It's so much. And that's why God said, I want you to test me. God said, I knew you were going to struggle. I knew life was going to be hard. I knew there was going to be a problem. I knew it was going to be hard to buy a house. I knew it was going to be hard to provide for your kids. I knew there was going to be so many problems and so much curses. But God is saying, bring it and test me. And test me. God is saying, test me. Test me. Test me. In 2011, when I was at university, I remember our university and I needed to register my car, and I was working 2 days a week. So all my money was like so tight. So it meant that if I tithed, I couldn't register my car. And I remember 3 months before, in like October, my registration was due December. I was like, God, I don't have money to register my car. I should probably keep my tithe. I remember God was like, no, do it and watch what I'm going to do. I kept on tithing, man, like week in, week out. It was really hard because, man, my ratio was due the 27th of December, one day after Boxing Day. And man, it was getting tight. I'm like, God, man, I'm honoring you. You better rock up. But you said you will rock up. On the 26th of December, I worked that day and it was double pay because Boxing Day, I ended up making the whole money for the car in one night. God is saying to you, bring the tithe into the storehouse and test me. God is saying, test me, test me, test me. God is saying, test me, test me, test me. God is saying, put your faith to the test. Tithing is a test of faith. Tithing is a test of faith.